Warning. This podcast is about to open the sealed section of spirituality.
Hey you, yeah you, we see you, you divine human being.
And we are calling you to come home.
We are ready to talk about the real shit. We're going to get real about life as a divine human being.
The good, the not so great, spirituality and taboo. Divinely Human is the podcast that's all about what it means to be human in a spiritual context.
We know it's not just about being spiritual, it's about being human too.
And that means changing poopy nappies and channeling angels.
Sometimes even at the same time. It's time for us to stop making other people's noise our own soundtrack of life.
Let's make some waves together so that we can all ride them together and create deep resonance, a sense of home in this crazy world.
Pour yourself a coffee
Or a glass of wine if that's your potion.
and sit down with your new favorite spiritual sisters
As we go on a journey together into what it means to be
a divine human being.
on this spiritual journey.
Hi and welcome to
The Divinely Human podcast.
I am Tanita.
And I'm Aleisha.
We're so happy to have you here to tell our love story finally. Well, okay, not finally. I mean, truth be told, we recorded this whole episode yesterday. And we're going to have to redo it because my computer was not being my friend, but we've rekindled our friendship and we're going to play nice today.
Very touchy subject right now.
It's a very touchy.
We're both very tired. And yeah, we're doing this. We need to take advantage of it. So we're going to dive in and tell the story again. Maybe there was something that we missed out though.
Yeah, I think so.
So, plus we've had a few ideas about what we want to bring into this episode as well that we didn't before. So
Yeah.
maybe it was for that reason.
Possibly.
I hope.
I really do hope. I really hope
So,
to.
Yeah.
But, I mean, I feel like the only ever time we've had to re-record was right at the beginning of our journey, which is funny because there was obviously some connection there. And we do come through on this podcast really unplanned, unfiltered. So it's a new type of energy when we come in with a planned topic, I think. And we're not used to that whole thing.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's really interesting. But I think it's important to tell this story because we were at an event the other night for the first time and we were telling people, you know, how we had met and the fact that we'd had this podcast for almost a year now and it was our first time meeting just the other day and people's reactions were so funny. And I was like, maybe we do need to tell people about how we met because I didn't think it was crazy.
I know, but the looks that we were getting, they were like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
Like, you have not met? I'm like, no.
I mean, our connection spans way deeper than just in person, I feel.
Yeah.
So it's funny.
It was funny, but also, like, really entertaining to see their faces too.
It was.
So,
It was also funny to, like, hear their response because I don't think they knew how to respond.
no, they were like, oh, cool.
I think.
It was just a bit strange.
It was.
I was too busy trying to read their faces actually than like actually listening to what they were saying back about it, to be honest with you. I was just like, I want to know what's going on inside your head right now.
Yeah, I was wondering that too. I think it's funny. But like, since we had that kind of conversation, we were talking about, you know, maybe meeting in person for the first time. This is a great opportunity to like tell our story. But I think it also does reflect back just how, I don't know, how much we've gone for it, you know? And I know you were saying this to me the other day. You've had so many people come to you and say, like, how do I just get going? Like, how do I make moves in my business? How do I go for the things that I really want without letting the fear or the doubt or the anxiety or anything hold them back? And I feel like since we've entered this collaboration, it's actually been really interesting to watch us just both go for it. Would you say the same thing?
Absolutely. And I feel like even more so in our own businesses since collaborating, I feel like we've both through having these conversations every week for the last almost year now, I feel like we have taken a lot from what we've been speaking about in a way, and like taken on a lot of that healing through storytelling and through sharing, and then integrated that into our own businesses as well, like on the side separately. And I've seen it so much with both of us as well, which has been really, really cool to watch that grow, and then also watch this space that we've created grow with it as well. I feel like it's been such a healing connection, like a healing space that we've created for ourselves, and then also, of course, for our listeners as well, but most of all for us. I'm so grateful for that.
Yes, me too. I think about like when I first started my business, we were telling this yesterday, like I was somebody who only showed, very few parts of myself, and I wanted to show up more fully, but I had this idea in my mind that like you have to kind of only show the parts of you that will be well accepted. And through this podcast, I've really allowed myself to just kind of embody myself fully when showing up in the business realm. And I really appreciate this space to be able to kind of do the groundwork for that, because I do see the value in not having to hide parts of yourself anymore, and I think that when you fully embrace all of you, there's no part of you that's holding back as much anymore. It's so much easier to flow forward. But yeah, I'm so grateful for this space too.
Me too. And what I was thinking about as you were saying that was, it's so hard to hide behind a podcast, let alone a video podcast. Literally. Fair enough if this was just the audio, but I know like we have jumped on podcasts before, like earlier on, where we've just both cried. Like there's nowhere to hide when it comes to that, and especially the video aspect. It's like it's all out. Everyone's seeing us in our raw truth, and that's enabled us to sort of propel this space and our business as well. But I think the collaboration has been so golden. I think that it's really like gifted us with so much. And I know that we were speaking about this the other day, but just about how important collaboration is as well. And just, it's so funny, like how you meet people. Like obviously I was like looking for somebody to teach me how to read the Akashic Records, and I'd been through other trainers before that just did not resonate. I felt like I didn't get what I was looking for with them, and still felt quite lost in that realm. And then obviously came across your space
on Instagram.
And then I still felt like really, it was different. It wasn't the same hesitation that I had with the previous training, but it was more like I wasn't sure if the energy would be a match. Maybe that's what it was. And I was like, ooh, hesitation, but I just kept on getting that voice in my head, like, you need to push past this. This is this is you. This isn't anyone else, but this is like a lesson for you to actually push through what you think your limitations are, to then go and acquire, learning and wisdom and knowledge of somebody who actually is, an energetic match for you to learn off. So I guess in a sense, that's how I came across you. And then I had no idea that we would end up, collaborating after that either. So.
No way. I mean, I am curious though, like, because you said that you had taken other trainings and you'd met other people who were in a similar kind of space to me. I want to know, like, what felt different, because you obviously still went and did the other trainings, but you also pushed forward with this. Like, what was the differentiation? Because I know a lot of people who are like, do I do this because it's in my higher path, or am I doing this because it's ego driven, or there's part of me that is just being kind of pushed into it?
Yeah. I feel like I can think of 3 things.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So first of all, 100%, I feel like there are a lot of practitioners out there who are very kind of ego driven, and I can pick up on that straight away when someone's in a space and they're in a space to provide training for people, but also for the glorification of it too. So that's one thing that I kept on picking up from numerous practitioners in the space. I just wasn't there for it. That's just not what I wanted. The second thing that differentiated it for me was I felt like there was like this weird like family tie somewhere for us. It's just like this weird like, I know this girl, but I don't know this girl. So I feel like there was that family tie that came into it where I was like, maybe past life tie somewhere. I was like, I know this girl from somewhere, but I just don't know where from. So that was interesting. And the third thing is that I think for you, your energy, even though when I was like in your energy, in your space, I was like, this girl is like so nice. How is this girl so nice? Like, is this real? But at the same time, there was a certain way that you were showing up where it was like so open, you know, like it wasn't nice, but with a wall. It was like, you are so nice, but also like there was no walls. So I really did feel like the space that you were offering people was one that was very, very open, and there was no like, I'm coming up from up here and talking down to you. It was like, everyone's here at the table. Everyone's like my sister, you know, it was just like a family sort of space. And that's how you ran, you know, that, I guess, that container that you were holding as well. Like, it was just very interactive and close knit, and that's exactly what I was looking for. I didn't want to just sit behind a screen and just not talk to anyone. And I feel like that was one of the biggest differences with what you were offering and what I'd seen previously in the space. So I think that's for me was the huge difference and what made me kind of want to jump in.
Compared to what you've done in the past. I think, I mean, like, what I get from that is, you know, it is important to go through those journeys and trust where you're led. And even if it doesn't turn out the way that you were anticipating or hoping, like, it still teaches you a valuable lesson around maybe what you do want or don't want for the future. And I guess, like, coming into different programs or spaces, having a clear idea of what you do want is really important, right? Because at the beginning of your journey, and I feel like we can all be so hard on ourselves, like, we are just exploring every single space, and sometimes we don't have any idea of what to expect. But once you kind of get into that rhythm and you start to really, you know, understand what you need and what you really value in different spaces, then holding those boundaries high is important for anything that you're going to enter into next. I think that's been, you know, my experience as well. And I've held so much like, I don't know, doubt against myself entering into new spaces, because I've been like, well, you know, I've been burned by spaces in the past before. I've been burned by teachers and mentors. And I'm like, have to keep reminding myself that it wasn't me who made that problem, you know, and it's got nothing to do with who I am or my decision-making abilities. It's about what I can utilize moving forward, and, you know, how I can kind of vet people and spaces and offerings moving forward, you know, because I think there's so many of us who think, you know, I've made bad decisions in the past. Maybe I shouldn't offer this in my own business because it's going to be a bad decision, right? And that inner, like, self-confidence is just diminished. But this is a reminder that, you know, it's not about the decisions that you've made in the past. It's about really what you do moving forward and how you utilize those lessons. And I feel like we've done that throughout our journey, is like continue to reflect and ask questions and not like hold each other, you know, to a standard that we don't want moving forward. You know?
I feel like we've both always been on that same wavelength when it comes to that. And I know we spoke about this before, but like just having really similar values, a really similar sense of what we believe integrity looks like in the space as well. I think that's been one of the biggest things for us too, because I think, you know, aside from what we offer in the space, I think another one of our passions that we constantly talking about is integrity. It is executing integrity in the space, but also educating other people on what that looks like or what it can look like. You know, we're not here to force our viewpoints of what that is down people's throats, but
that's exactly the opposite of what we want to do, right? Like,
but just gently kind of direct people into questioning what that looks like for them as well. Because that is something I think that we've both like bonded over too. Is like the fact that we have had really shitty experiences in this space with people, and then wanting to sort of reframe that narrative, not just for us but for other people that have moved through that too, because I know that we've both had people come to us and, you know, express their experiences in the space too. So I think we've kind of taken that and we kind of like, we've bonded over that and like kind of simmered up this beautiful new little like, I don't know, energy that we want to give together too. And we ended up doing that too with, you know, after obviously I did my training with you, with Tanita, and we thought that was it. And then we kind of just like went on our merry ways. And then eventually we came together again to bring through our 3-day boot camp together. So we did that like co-collaboration together and offered that. And that was exactly what we wanted to bring. Like that was all about integrity and running your own business and, you know, what success looks like and like how important your values are and things like that. So that was actually really...
That was fun.
So fun.
I really miss that experience. Like part of me is like, I want to rerun that again. Because it was so nice to be able to test the waters and see how we were in a collaborative space where the roles were very different. I mean, obviously before that it was a very different dynamic between the two of us, and we kind of came into a new collaboration and wanting to explore what that felt like. And it was a really good taste tester to see how we would go, you know, moving forward, which at that point in time we had no idea it would come to this at all. At that point we were just like, we need an outlet. We feel like we have amazing conversations and something really valuable to offer the community, and we want to do that. And we did, and it was amazing. And then I think from there we were like, we wanted to do that bigger experience. And we were so ready. We had multiple meetings about it. We were like, we feel so good together. But there was something about that kind of framework or that kind of offer that felt just too heavy.
It still felt too rigid, and we didn't want to have to tie ourselves down to that framework in case, because obviously we both have our lives, we both have our own businesses, you have your corporate job as well on top of that. We're both mothers, we both have families, so it was like we were looking at what we wanted to do, and then we had to make that decision where we were like, okay, we need to be realistic about this. Can we actually commit to this right now?
And my heart hurt when we decided that we weren't going to do anything moving forward and we were just going to, you know, take a break and see what came through. I was so sad.
I know.
I was like, I want to work with her. I want to do something. I felt on my end that like our story wasn't finished.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
I felt like that really deep pull, but I had no idea what it would look like. And I don't know the time frame between like the boot camp and the podcast. I don't think it was very long.
I think it was within 4 to 6 weeks of that finishing.
I think so too. But what was crazy about that is we were, you know, voice noting back and forth almost every day, like just kind of sharing. And we were like, we want to do something else. And then we both sent a voice note at the same time saying, do you want to do a podcast together? And I was like, the fucking... Like,
it was so weird. It was so weird.
We both must have received that ping from spirit, like at very similar times.
Yeah, I think our teams were like joining forces too behind the scenes. They're like, no, we love working together as well. Like, we need to keep these two girls working together. Because that was crazy, the timing of that, and it was literally like the same time.
Yeah.
Wild.
Yeah, it was really crazy.
So weird.
And I think that leans back into like divine synchronicity, but also just being so okay with total vulnerability and honesty with whoever you're collaborating with or whatever venture you're going on in business. Because I think if you're not honest with yourself, like imagine if we never said that.
I know.
We just kept that like desire in our heart and we didn't let that birth. I'm like, we would not be where we are today. And I find that happens with a lot of people. They kind of just have this little ping come down from spirit, but they don't know how to move with it. And I think for us, the main like motivator or the main kind of move maker was the fact that we just kept talking about it.
Yeah.
You know, we didn't stop talking about it actually.
Yeah. I think too, a lot of people in the space are a little bit terrified when it comes to reaching out and asking people if they want to collaborate with them as well. I have been in the past too, because I feel like I don't want to be rejected. Like, I don't want that other person to feel like, oh, like I'll just say yes because I don't want to let them down. And then it's like, maybe I think too much about it, but I've always been so scared, like even, you know, putting myself out there and being like, should we start a podcast?
Yeah.
I'm sure you were feeling the same thing. You're like, oh fuck, what if she like doesn't want to do it?
I know, I'm like, what if she thinks I'm too like clingy, or like, you know, like we've just done this thing together, is she just trying to be nice? And like,
I'm like, what if she actually hated the 3-day boot camp and then she can't wait to get out of my
trying to cut ties in the background?
She was like about to delete my phone number and delete me off Instagram.
I had a really bad collaboration in the past, and I remember thinking, can I escape this? In the past, because, and you know the story behind it, it honestly is still haunting me to this day. But anyway, but the thing is, like, you don't know until you try, and like you just have to not be so worried about the end result, because it never turns out how you expect it anyway.
No, it doesn't.
It's either so much better, or it's not what you expected and you learn some really valuable lessons. I think we can really box ourselves in by trying to control every single step of the journey, and including the outcome, you know. And I think that's what's allowed this podcast to really blossom, is the fact that we've said, you know, this is what we want from this, and this is what we kind of, you know, want it to exist in, but the outcome is totally in the hands of the universe.
Yeah.
You know?
And that's literally what we were like teaching people too in the boot camp, or like values. Like, and I think that's one thing that we have as well. Like, we just so aligned with our values. So it was going to be good, but like, obviously, tips to anyone who does want to collaborate and go out there and create something with someone else. That's probably the first step that I would recommend that people do when it comes to collaboration, is going out and like communicating, and just not jumping into the collaboration, but also before doing that, diving in and just spending time with that person, whether that's virtually or in person. Obviously with us it was virtually.
Always virtually.
Absolutely. And just like, hey, like, what are your values? Like, what are you actually wanting to bring through? And then really going back and being super honest with yourself and asking yourself, does that align with my truth? Because, I mean, it's like playing Russian roulette. It's like, maybe it doesn't. And that's okay. It doesn't mean that either of you are a bad person. It just means that you're both kind of here, but for maybe you have different purposes in the space. And there's no wrong or right. It's just whatever your purpose is, it is, you know? So I think that's, you know, one of the biggest lessons that I've learned surrounding the collaboration aspect. But I'm sitting here now and I'm like, whew, so much is going on in my mind, and I'm thinking about the boot camp, and I'm like, imagine if we did it as like an annual thing, because I feel like
stop it.
Every year we have
new things to bring things.
Like, and even the last 12 months, like, look how much we've both grown. Like, we are completely different people.
Like, part of me wants to go back and rewatch it just to see. Yes, I really do. I think that's so valuable. I'm totally down for that. And
imagine that, like, just doing like annually, no stress, no strings attached. Just like, hey, we're doing this on an annual basis. Like, every 12 months, we're just going to be doing this 3-day immersive boot camp. But every year it's going to be different, because we're building on everything that we're learning along our journey as well. So it's just going to get more and more valuable as we go on. That could be fun.
I think that could be fun too. I'm totally down for that.
Absolutely.
Just to your point before, I was thinking as well, like, I remember when we were first kind of exploring both projects of like the podcast and this, we were doing fun little games, like send me 5 emojis of like the energy you want to bring through this, you know. And like, it didn't always have to be a super serious like conversation around like, you know, what are your values, like what are your boundaries, like what do you want from this. Like, we really did make it fun, and we made it kind of aligned to us. And I think that's so important as well. Like, depending on who you're working with, you have to make it in a way that you're both gonna have energy kind of flowing, you know. But it was really cool, and I think because our foundation is so strong now and we have really done the groundwork for like 2 years of knowing each other, I know that no matter what we do moving forward, there's this really safe space of being able to say like, you know what, maybe that doesn't align with me right now, or you know what, yes, I want to move forward and do that. And it softens the blow of that like doubt around being rejected, but you have to kind of build that foundation first, I feel. And if you don't have time to do that with somebody else, you just kind of have to put yourself out there and find the person that you're meant to collaborate with, because there's no way in this world that we're meant to do the work alone.
Absolutely. And I know that you are such a big advocate for that.
Yes.
Through what you share on your platform as well. Like from day dot, you've always said, I remember like the first piece of advice that you gave us in your training that you did, it was like, collaborate, like reach out to your sisters, you know, like you don't have to do this alone. Like we are here to actually communicate and like connect and really bring through and create stuff together. And I've always taken that kind of with me and held that, because I think this space can be so lonely at times for a lot of people, because they think that it's this big race that we're running against each other. And it's not that at all. And I see it all the time. I see people post about this all the time too, about how it's like, you know,
my numbers were better than hers.
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely. I see it all the time. I see, you know, readers and astrologers out there saying, oh, you know, someone else came to me because they had a, you know, terrible experience and I gave them more information or something like that. And it's just not how this space is set up to be organically. That's kind of like a little bit more ego driven, and it's coming from a place of fear and scarcity. There's nothing scarce about this. There's no lack in this space whatsoever. There is so much for everybody in this space. There is no lack. And I feel that so much with, I guess, as well, like the up and coming practitioners that are coming into the space now that I'm seeing. There is this huge feeling of lack and desperation and scarcity that's coming through. And I guess I just want to remind people that it's not that at all. It's the complete opposite. And you can receive only as much as you are actually willing to hold in this space, and only as much as, you know, you believe that you are worthy of in this space. And everything after that is irrelevant. I think 100%. It just is what it is. So I don't know, I just feel like I'd say that.
No, say it again, because it's so true. And I remember that mindset. I remember that mindset.
Me too. Like we've been there.
Both been there, because it was passed down to us.
Yes.
Like we came into this space, we were taught certain aspects of what we do in our business, and it was taught to us. You have to have the best offering out there to be able to, you know, make a client, have the relationship with the client. You have to, you know, like vet out your competitors and see what everybody else is offering. And it was this very like fending for yourself and competition over collaboration. And I remember seeing that and feeling like utterly disgusted. I was like, we cannot be in this one space and have to fight tooth and nail. Like, how many people have we both done readings for, and they continue to get readings from other people in the space, and they have so much value and such different perspective that it's never like a fight for your place in this space. You know, you should never feel like there's not enough space for you, because we all have such a different perspective, and it just takes time to find that, I think, you know. So I remember that too, and I know that so many people still feel like, well, you know, what do I really have to say, or, you know, how can I make myself different to somebody else? And I think that just comes over time. Like, you know, us starting the podcast, that wasn't the main thing that we were thinking of. We were just like, how can we fully express ourselves in this space and have a good time while doing it?
Yeah, because we both felt like we had this real, I guess, throat chakra urge. Well, like, we just want to express. We were like sending 25-minute voice notes like, fuck man, can we just record this? We honestly, and I'm pretty sure that we said that a few times before we launched the podcast. We were like, oh my God, we we speak so much and with so much depth and expression that this should be recorded and shared with other people, because it is going to help other people, right? It's so funny. And we started the podcast out of passion and just wanting a release for us, but also knowing that we had value to bring to other people, because what we were sharing was coming from a place of, we've been there before, so we want other people to feel and take comfort in what we've moved through and know that they're not alone as well. And it's funny because in the past, like I've started projects before, I don't know, I've had these big ideas of things in my mind that I want to bring through, and that maybe weren't so much rooted in like a passion project sort of energy.
Yes.
And they've been absolute flops. Like they're just absolute flops. Yeah. But there's one thing that it came from such an organic, passionate place, and this is our passion project, has turned into this thing. Like we've been getting amazing, stats. Our analytics are incredible.
The reviews are beautiful.
The reviews are so beautiful. Literally makes us tear up. Yeah. And we've been offered like opportunities like this to come together and, to attend events and stuff like that. So I think that energy doesn't lie and truth doesn't lie.
It doesn't. It doesn't. And as scary as it is in those moments of like, I need to put something out there because I don't want to be forgotten in this space, or I don't want to feel left behind. Like I've still got this energy inside me, but I'm not sure how to funnel it through. I think it's so important to sit with it to some degree, because just putting energy out there for the sake of it is not going to help anybody. And while our whole kind of lesson for this episode is just do it, I think it's also important to come with the perspective of like, don't just do it for the sake of doing it. Like do it because you truly feel that passionate energy coming through and you feel that desire. I feel like if it's coming from your head, that very logical space, it's not always going to turn out in that highest alignment path.
I see it a lot actually, and I guess
we've both
I've moved through this before. Yeah. I'm like, I'm really interested in that, and then I just learn something for myself, and then the second that I get a grip on like understanding it, all of a sudden I'm wanting to teach it and to offer it to people. And I've seen it reflected so much in the space. I see people learning about stuff, and then 2 seconds later they're turning around and saying, I'm offering a container to teach people about this, but it's before they've had that integration time. I feel like the integration time after taking on new information is really important, because it does take time for it to sort of settle and actually integrate. Like there's a reason why integration takes time. It's because it needs to sort of flow throughout, and it takes a while to process it all and to really truly understand it on like a cellular level. And you'll find that those people that do keep offering like a bloody new thing every single week, like a new bloody workshop, or like a new like a fucking container every 2 days, like it's like they pull it out of their asses. And honestly, it does come out of their asses, and shit stinks.
I know.
Now we're up to the cutthroat part.
I love it. No, but it's so true. Shit stinks.
Shit stinks.
It does. It really does.
And no one wants that.
And you can smell it from a mile away.
And no one wants that. So I guess the biggest piece of advice.
We both don't shit all over your content. Don't shit all over your offerings, people.
Absolutely. And don't feel like you're being left behind in this space just because you're not offering something new, or you haven't changed around your offerings in a certain amount of time, or you haven't come up with a new crazy idea of like a space you want to hold. I think there is so much more integrity and value in just waiting when the time is right, and not pushing yourself to just because you feel like you're in a race, because there is no race. There is no race. No. And I really love the other night at the event, they were speaking about what success looks like. And they were saying, you set the parameters of what your success is, right? Because the race is against yourself. And I forget exactly how they explained it, but they were saying like, success to you might be like just feeling really fulfilled and excited at the end of the day. That means you're winning, right? That means you're succeeding because you're actually fulfilling that, motive and that intention. Success might look like, I don't know, recording 3 times a week and sharing it. you've made it.
Yeah.
That's success. Like success looks like whatever you want it to look like. And the moment that you stop comparing that to the other people around you is the moment that you actually feel like you are propelling forward and that you are kind of moving somewhere in this space. Because until then, you're going to feel like you're swimming backwards because you're constantly looking around at everyone else and what they're doing, and you're like, oh my God, I'm sinking, you know?
Yeah, 100%. And like, there's been so many points in my journey where I've had, you know, a money goal, but I haven't had my money shit together. And I've gone through the month thinking that I haven't hit that. And, you know, I've set that goal for myself, and then I've gotten all my stuff together and I did actually hit it because I didn't have that organization. I was focused on all the other shiny object things or numbers or, you know, success kind of bars to hit. And so, setting those are really important. I love that tip the other night as well. And for us, it's always been, you know, our analytics and making sure that what we're putting out is actually hitting with people, but it's also the amount of conversations that we're having with other people and how we feel at the end of it. And, you know, there have been episodes where we're like, fuck, I really don't want to release that. Like, I know I've had that thought come up, and I'm like, I wish I could go back and explain that or do something different. But the whole premise of this, and one success bar for us, is like raw authenticity.
Sharing our truth. At whatever moment that is.
And that can change. Like,
absolutely. It could come from a lower octave or a higher octave. Like, it could come from a really shit dark place, which it has for both of us here before, or it can come from a really uplifted, high vibrational place. And I think that's the beauty of it, is just sharing that with people and kind of like smashing through those expectations that are put on us by ourselves, first and foremost, but secondly by a whole lot of people in this space who are too afraid to share that. Right?
Well, I think also that's what makes you human. Like, nobody wants to buy from a robot, especially in this space when you are doing deeply vulnerable, energetic work, whether you're a psychic, whether you're a healer, whether you're a reader, whether you are a light language, you know, translator, whatever you do, you are dealing with people's energy, and that cannot be filtered. Like, it can't be kind of constructed. We have to show up as our full selves, and part of that is sharing the higher and lower octaves that make us human, because you know, the seasons that we go through and the raw emotions that we have, that is what makes us human. And I know from my past experience, I'm never gonna just buy from someone who shares the highs and not the lows. Like, I want to know that you've been through it, you know. I want to know that you can handle, you know, those deeper, darker parts of myself, because I know I have them, and if you're going to escape out of it, it's not going to do me any good for anything that I do moving forward. And I think that's part of the most amazing part of our collaboration, is that we've never been afraid to see those dark parts of each other, and we've never judged each other for that at all. You know?
Absolutely.
Well, I mean, I haven't judged you, I don't know that.
No, that's likewise, that's reciprocated. I feel like I haven't either. I feel like, if anything, if we've both come in from like a really like, oh my God, like I feel like shit, blah blah blah, like this has happened, we've always been like, hey, like it's so valid, like you're cool. Like yesterday you got shit on by a bird and
cried my eyes
you cried
and I blew up at my fiance.
Sorry, I had to bring up the bird shit.
Fuck you. But anyway, it's fine. I'm an emotional mess lately, okay? No, but I was so sad, and I was feeling like, you know, when you have that emotional outburst and then you're like, ooh, I shouldn't have done that. Maybe you shouldn't have called him a fucking idiot in public. Like, maybe you should have reeled that in. And yeah, you were just like, you know what, like, it's totally...
I'm like, I would have done the same. Like, sometimes our emotions get the best of us, and it doesn't mean that we shouldn't let that happen. It just means that we
shouldn't do anything again. It's not like I'm never going to go to a fucking zoo again because I got shot on by a bird. Like,
no.
And But that's the thing, that's what we do in business, right? We have one negative experience and then we say, well, not going to do that. I don't want to risk putting myself into that situation again. But I think you can come at it with so much more knowledge and awareness. Like, okay, maybe right now I'm feeling more emotional, so not going to immediately react to my partner who I can just like word vomit on, you know. There's different ways I can approach this, and I find that knowledge is power no matter what you do or where you take it.
Yeah.
You know, and that definitely relates to business.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that it is one of the most important things, you know, and if you're operating from a place where I guess you're not giving that any energy, then that's just going to flow through. You're going to see that, and anyone that kind of uses discernment in the space is also going to see that as well. Not that it matters what other people see, but you'll just see that ripple out in your business in like
Every area,
like you know, like interaction and engagement, and then also on like the money aspect, because let's face it, like we're here to make you know, we're here to make money, let's not lie. That's also a goal in this space too, is by doing what we love to create wealth and you know, abundance from it as well. So let's not fucking beat around the bush there. So but you'll see that come back tenfold. So I think that it ripples out everywhere. And it's so important.
It is, it really is. And I'm so glad we got to do this together, because I know like you owned your business for quite a few years before we like entered into this collaboration, and I know that so many other people are feeling very lonely on their journey. I mean, I certainly was, but that's why I made it a priority to collaborate with as many people as possible and never treat my clients as beneath me or separate from me. But I think for those who are feeling really lonely in this space, like just find genuine connections where you can. And it is kind of second nature in this space to have to beat those walls down a little bit and show yourself vulnerably before other people do that, and just understanding that sometimes that's the way it is. Like, not everybody is going to be like super vulnerable and super transparent at first bat, but if you enter with that, then you can really make those genuine connections. And I'd invite anybody to just try and have a genuine fucking conversation. Like, so over content that's not genuine or real, or it's just like, we need to be having more real conversations, because all of us need that helping hand at the moment. You know, we're all going through stuff, and just seeing somebody else truly as they are can be so impactful. You never know where it's going to lead. Yeah. You know? Genuine engagement. Yes, and if you're not putting that out, don't expect it back. Yeah, absolutely. And I know that there are a lot of people, I know it straight away as soon as people engage with me, if it's coming from a place where they're trying to like gauge like what I'm doing and try to like figure out what I'm doing to try and replicate it. And, you know, I have friends that this happens to as well, constantly. I invite anyone to kind of shift why you're in the space in the first place, and just take note of the energy that you are putting out, because if it is coming from a genuine place, you are going to feel that come back tenfold. As opposed to like, just like, I don't know, trying to be one of those weird people that stalk everyone that try. That's on a bad day. No, I totally agree. I didn't say that in the best I could. Look, I was just like, how do I bring this across with some class and tact? We're not here for class. I'm like, stop being a fucking stalker. I totally agree. And you know what? I want to piggyback off that, because I did write a post the other day about toxic positivity, and that's not what we're talking about. We're not talking about like, you know, putting out good vibes so we can get good vibes back. No. We're talking about like being a genuine human being and like seeing other people, the right intentions. Yeah, seeing other people for who they truly are and not judging them based off their light or their shadow, but truly just accepting who they are wholly, and trying to find that genuine connection, because we are all interconnected. And I think that's why it didn't feel weird for us to meet for the first time. Because, like, we were just so accepting of one another.
Yeah.
That, like, it was weird in terms of, like, I haven't seen Aleisha in person. I haven't seen all of the angles of her face. And, like, it was weird in terms of that, but it was never uncomfortable.
Yeah.
You know?
I hope not.
No! No, like, I mean, being around you was never uncomfortable. Your face isn't uncomfortable. You know what I mean?
It's like, your face is making me feel really uncomfortable. I'm gonna have to leave. That angle is just not...
It's just not, you know, sitting well with me. We've been behind a screen for 2 years. No, that's not what I meant.
Your jaw is offensive. I'm gonna have to leave.
You see, if we weren't truly connected, it might be a problem. You know?
Oh my god.
But was it the same for you?
Yeah. Yeah, it was. Jokes aside, guys, it was the same for me. So it's all good.
We've now entered into the delirious stage.
Yes. No, I think this has been a really good conversation and a really good wrapping up of, like, for those people who have entered and not known how we've connected, like, now you guys know how this journey and what it's looked like, and, like, I guess the things that we've learned along the way, and also what we recommend and want to offer you guys moving forward. If any of you feel inspired to take, I guess, aligned action after listening to this, to move closer to the things that you want to create, to collaborate with like-minded people, definitely recommend just taking this and utilizing the information that we're passing on to you, because I wish I had a little book with all of this before I started.
Yeah, me too. And, like, you know, we're here to heal the sisterhood wound. We're here to rewrite a new chapter in soulful business and just being a healer or a space holder. And, you know, it takes some sort of awareness and vulnerability to do that. So we can hope that by sharing our story and what we've learned along the way, that you can, you know, take what resonates and do the same, because we are here to share and to uplift one another. And this space would not be what it is without everybody in it, and without anybody who's wanting to enter this space as well.
Yeah. How beautiful.
Oh, I love this. Oh, we're gonna cuddle. You don't smell today.
I think I do, but
no, you don't.
YOLO.
Well,
That's what it is.
We'll catch you next week, I guess.
We will catch you guys next week.
Bye.
Bye.